yet.
Well, it's too late because we are in fact live. Hey guys, it's Trevor here. Welcome to Help Hangouts, episode 13. We are going to be looking at some really cool stuff that Google has announced. As well, we're going to be talking about some of the common questions that we get from our trainers, especially when it comes time to listing your activities in our EDU Activity App. Before we start though, let's do some introductions. I'm going to start off with Allison, if you would please.
Hi, my name's Allison Malika. I've been a Google certified trainer for years now, and I work with Trevor and Nick and other Google certified trainers to collaboratively keep each other in the know.
Collaborate and a patience pediment at the same time. And Nick was here, but I think he had to refreshing, so he'll hopefully be coming back soon. In the meantime, my name is Trevor Beck. I am a Google evangelist at a university here in Canada, and yeah, just involved a lot with the Google certified group. So that's where I get to see a lot of the questions that come up, and people tend to ask a lot of the same questions over and over. So the three of us decided one day, you know what, we should actually do something like this so that we can answer those questions and actually display stuff, because it's a lot easier to show you the answer than it is half the time to just type it all out. Nick is slowly trying to make his way on. His video's not on yet, but now it is. Okay, Nick, you're ready to be introduced. But Nick's got technical problems. Is that it?
I'm back.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm Nick Cusimano, Director of Instructional Technology for a suburban St. Louis school district, and trainer, innovator, and whatnot.
And whatnot, that catch-all phrase that works for everybody. So what we're going to do, if you have any questions, guys, here is the Google Slides audience tool that we're going to use. So it's goo.gl/slides/WG4D4D. So if you have questions, please put them in there. There is a live chat that's available with the YouTube stream that you're viewing right now if you want to go and have a back channel chat and stuff. But this is where we're going to be doing all the questions, is on this Goo piece. So if you want to open it up in a new window and keep it up there, and then we'll be checking back and forth and periodically to see what kind of questions you have. After the broadcast, the Q&A tool doesn't do anything. So if you have any questions, you'll have to enter those questions in the comments below the video. So the Q&A tool is only during live time. So let's start off. For all the show notes and links to our slides and stuff like that, this is the URL you can use. So it's bit.ly/gethelpshownotes. And it has all of our show notes going all the way back to our first episode a year ago. And any of the things that we talk about, you'll find the links in those show notes. So don't worry if you don't catch all the links. That's where you'll be able to pick them up. So our agenda, we're going to start off and talk about what's new. And a lot of neat stuff have happened even in the last 48 hours. We're going to do a kind of a feature presentation. And today we're going to talk about, as I mentioned before, that the activity tool. And as well, we're going to talk about some cool things that have happened with Google Sites. We also do a random share where each of us pick some item that we want to just share out because it's very cool. And then we try and find a trainer who's submitted some information or who has done something in the community, and we give them a shout out. Just as a quick reminder for all the newbies that we have out there, and I know there's a lot of new ones that come out every few months. If you're using the Google group, please use the search function first before you start going through and asking questions, because it's a lot of repetition that's in there. There's 3 managers that are looking through that stuff, and we have to try and call out all the duplicates so that we only have one of everything. And if 10 people are asking the same question, it makes our time gets eaten up quite a lot just doing that. So please use the search function first. Also, if you're interested in presenting at ISTE, which is going to be in June, the deadline is the 29th, which is tomorrow. So if you're interested in doing any of that, there's a link on the slide deck. Again, you can also just go Google ISTE 2018, and the presentation node is there for you to submit your stuff. Are you guys presenting or attending at all?
Fingers crossed.
Okay. Okay, this will be, hopefully everything will work out well. I'll be able to go to, that'll be at least my first time attending, if nothing else. So what's new at Google? Google Slides saw some really neat updates. We're not going to demonstrate everything because some of this stuff is still rolling out, but just so you're aware of it, this link that we see here, it takes us to the announcement that Google had. But Google Keep is now available in Google Slides. So anything that you capture with your Keep app, you can just drag directly into the slides. They're introducing add-ons, and some of the add-ons are available already. Right now, it seems to be mostly extra graphics and stuff. So I think I can't remember who it is. There's two companies that are sharing their graphics and stuff. So you'll be able to do that.
Yeah, there's actually a really for students for design. Unsplash Photos has incredible photos that you can drop onto slides, and with that Explore tool, you can make some amazing slides really, really fast. So I would get on that right away. And there's an icon add-on that has a whole slew of icons that you can use and change color and size, etc. So those two I'd get started with right away.
Excellent. Perhaps that's something for our next one that you could actually take us through, Allison. Is that okay to write that? Perfect. This is a cool one, linked slides between presentation. So if I've got a big slide deck and Allison and Nick are contributing to it, they can actually have their own slide decks that they work on. And then when we say, you know, and I go and paste a slide from them, it actually will say, do you want to import or link it? So anytime they make changes, it automatically updates into the main slide deck presentation. So that's kind of a cool app. For me, skip the slide feature. So you can now customize stuff without having to reorganize your slides, which is what I tend to do. Allison's going, yeah.
Well, it's nice when you prepare for like a 45-minute session and then they're like, oh, sorry, we went over, you have 30 minutes. You're quickly, you don't have to cut slides. You can just know, okay, for this session, I'm going to skip these things. So I'm looking forward to trying that out.
Yeah, you and me both. And then there's some app script functionality, which is more above my head, but I'm sure we'll see some great stuff coming in with that tied in as well with the add-ons. There's also
one more.
Go ahead.
Maybe it's been here before, but when I was doing the tutorials today, I stumbled upon the insert diagram, and so not only can you insert chart, but they have the option to insert diagram, and you have like hierarchy, timeline, sequence, and then once you go and pick that area, you have several to choose from that you can quickly modify. So outstanding tool for students and teachers. I recommend everyone check that out and show their teachers and students that feature.
That will be very cool. In Sheets, we have now customizable headers and footers. So I think that means you get more graphics, more graphics as well as font manipulation. Is that what that means?
I know that several years ago when I first went in my first school, Google, a heavy sheet user, it always sounds like, you know, funny when you say a heavy sheet user, but a heavy sheet user was really frustrated that they didn't have that option. So.
Well, especially if you're trying to develop, sorry, Nick, go ahead.
I think probably saying the same thing. When you're getting into like branding as a trainer, it's a good way to get your name out there, and if you're sharing resources and say you've done this really cool thing with Sheets or some setup, then you can have your information on there, one, so that they can refer back to you and then book you again. Or if you're a school district view, then you know that either you can put on there, you know, this is school district stuff. It's keep private because of COPA, FERPA, and SIPA. Or if this is for our use only, or, you know, whatever that you're dealing with, you can, you know, really make that specific. And it also makes it nice when you go to print it out because, you know, people still print in the world, whether we would like it or not. And you've got your information on there in whatever way you need it on there.
Yeah, you nailed it. The branding thing was exactly what I was going to talk about. There's also some information about Google Sites. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. As we mentioned in the description for this, is there's some embedding stuff that's happened up, and there's some other cool things that have happened even again like the last 48 hours or so. So we'll talk about more details of that then. So that's what's new. So we're going to now move to our feature presentation, which is going to be the EDU app, Activity app. And so who wants to start off with this? Well, let's take a look at the questions here we want to try and answer. So why are we doing it? What's it for? And how to find it? You guys want to start with that?
Sure. The EDU Activity app is every trainer needs to use it and know where to access it and how to use it. The reason we have that app, it's a tracker for your required presentations and trainings to maintain your certification status. And it's linked directly off of the Google certification training. So if you can get to the GET website, then you'll see a link to the activity tracker from the drop-down menu. But you can go directly to it by just going to eduactivityapp.withgoogle.com.
Right here, I'm just going to share my screen so we can look at that. It's also in the Google group. So I know a lot of people spend a lot of times in the trainers Google group. So there's links at the top there. This is my my app here. So what else do we want to talk about?
So the reason we get those trainings documented to get them into the tracker. So what you want to do is make sure that you report an activity by selecting first the type of activity and then click on add to add the activity that you're doing. So you can see like Trevor's super busy doing trainings and events. You can see that they're categorized by meetup event, training event, innovation project. If you're an innovator, you have that as well, or an outreach. So choose the one that best describes and complete the form as best to your ability. A couple of tips for when you do your training: collect email addresses so you can put in the domain of your participants. If you're training one domain, you only need at schoolxyz.org. But if you have a training or an event or a workshop at like the Google Summit, you might have domains from all over the place. So just make sure you're collecting that. A good way to do that is just to have a simple sign-in form, and then or a feedback form. It's better to have a sign-in form that automatically sends like your resources and a thank you via
Autocrat.
Autocrat. And that way they get something for signing in, and the feedback domain of the people you're training.
So we lost the last sentence you said.
You're going to want a feedback. You're going to want the feedback and the domain of the people you've trained.
Okay, excellent. Nick, do you anything to follow up with that, or are we good?
I would just say with your groups, it's definitely include your formal ones, but informal ones can go in there too. So let's say you're you meet with the teachers during their plan period, a couple of teachers during your plan period, and go over something specific with them. That can count as an activity also.
Right, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, Nick, because that's changed over the years. Veteran trainers, they started out in the program when the requirements were training outside of your school. And over the years, we've realized that you really want to build momentum in your own school. And there's value in getting your teachers trained and your students and teachers on board and really utilizing the tools. So thus, now you get credit for training within your domain. And also in regards to the number, what counts as a training, pretty much a webinar, a hangout, face-to-face, all of those count. If you go to a summit or a workshop event and you conduct 4 separate sessions, one on Sheets, one on Drive, and one on Slides, let's say, that's 3 trainings. It's not one training. You've prepared 3 workshops. So even though you do it over a 2-day period, you still get credit for the 3 that you've conducted.
So here's a question that I see all the time, because you mentioned what you can post, but let's say I sit down with a teacher and I go through a session for a half an hour about that. Even just doing the one teacher, does that count as training? I also have another question about, what about, actually, let me just present this real quick. Oh, presenting is, there is. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. That always helps too, right? Here we go. Okay, so Murphy Mary says, what about training students? She works primarily with teachers, but sometimes I'm asked to do trainings to whole groups of students.
I have an answer to that one. Unfortunately, for the EDU Activity Tracker, they want other educators. But I would still keep track of it. There are hopes of adding more Google student type certification sometime in the future as a possibility. So, but they want educators reached, and do know that they do use the data that we put in there. So the more data we give them, the more accurate it's going to be. Because if you just do your 12 and you're like, oh, done. Well, that doesn't truly reflect what you're doing out there. And it's also helpful for you because you can figure out your reach too as you connect with people sharing the googly goodness.
Yeah, Mary, you're doing the right thing by posting it as an extra activity. Google educators teach students, and Google trainers teach educators. So if you think of it in that perspective, you'll know where to apply your work.
That's a great way of putting it, Allison. So I'll go back to the one started. What if I'm just doing a one-on-one? Myself, I'm sitting down with a teacher, or I'm sitting down with an admin person, and I'm doing a one-on-one. Does that count?
I'm going to let Nick give his 2 cents on it, because I think that there's been conflicting dialogue about it from Google in general. I wouldn't report it as such. I consider that part of my job and what I do in everyday life. I wouldn't consider sitting down with a teacher showing them how to make a blog an actual training that I would submit. But I'm not going to be the spokesperson on that. I don't know if it's, I don't know. I have it.
Oh, she froze up.
You froze again. But you know what? I think
I'm not sure how much that data would matter to Google at all. So
yeah,
that would be my
you froze up there for a second.
Official statement.
You froze up there for a second, but I think we got it. And I think, and Nick, you can agree or disagree, but if you're just sitting down with someone at their computer and showing them something, that's not like official training where you actually sit down or you stand in front of a group, or even it's a small group, but you've got a agenda and here's all the activities and here's the participation thing that they're going to do. That's training as opposed to sitting down and helping grandma with the computer. Nick, would that be a good assessment?
Yeah, I would say as long as you have some sort of structure, I would look to groups that are at least 2 or larger, and you're walking them fully through a tool, not just it's help hour, which I get that a lot in my job too. I did it like 3 different places today, and that's just part of, you know, the technology integration piece, which I will say, especially with the trainer, Google really saw that that was a growing need, that districts are hiring technology integrationists or technology coaches or whatever you want to call people who fill that position, and they understand that part with that. So for me, I would count, like, let's say I'm going to the social studies department meeting. We have early release and PLC time, and they want to know how to use Google Classroom. I would count that. If I'm sitting one-on-one and walking someone through Classroom, not as much. But if I have like 3 and they booked some time with me and it's very specific and focused, I would count that. Does that make sense?
Yep, that's for us. Okay, so let's move along to the next one. Let's talk about Google Sites now. So we got some questions that we've kind of pulled out as we were going through the Google group and stuff. And you can see here's some of the comments that are really popular right now. How to give feedback, because of course Google Sites, the new one, is not fleshed out yet. It's still a work in progress. So we want to answer how to do feedback. We're also going to talk about how to embed multiple calendars. And will sites be available to transfer to personal accounts? And I have found a way that we can do that. And we'll talk about that in a sec. But I'm going to share a screen, and then maybe what one of you guys can kind of walk through the process to how to give feedback in that. So let me just switch my screen here. And it is important to make sure that you give that feedback to Google on what's going on, because that's how they kind of prioritize everything. So if you want a certain functionality to become available, the more popular people are saying, yes, I want this, the more likelihood it's going to
put that HTML box on content feedback.
Yes, that is one.
I mean, to me, that's one of the biggest things missing. And they are very aware of it, but we can remind them to continue to stay on track.
If I'm not mistaken, we were sort of promised that for Q4. Look out, October 1, just a few days.
We'll see. They got some stuff did come in. So Nick, why don't you walk me through, how do I go and give feedback?
So on feedback, if you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, over there is send feedback, where Trevor's just pointed to. And then you can give screenshot and highlight what you want to talk about, or say, hey, I want to put HTML box here. I want my Twitter feed in there. Or to be Google specific, I want my Google Plus feed in there, whatever.
I just want anything else in there than what we had.
Well, something that might motivate people to actually use that feedback is Google's very proud of the new feature, or their new capability, I should say, that they read, number one, they read every piece of feedback. That's great. Number two, when that feature is enabled, anyone who's requested it will get an email that says, hey, you requested, HTML embed code, for Google Sites. We've just enabled that feature. Here you go. So it's worth your while to take the time to give the feedback.
What I will say about Sites is, if it's a Google product, it's really good about embedding it in there. And I will tell you, it saved me a bunch of time this week, because I'm the person in charge of tabulating our professional development feedback. Yay, pivot tables, they are your friend, they save you time. But before, when I go to this meeting, I would kill a small tree so that people could read them through. And I don't know why I didn't have this idea before, but I was like, oh my God, just throw that on a Google site. Boom, done. Share the link out, read it on your own time, be ready to discuss it when we get to the meeting. Time saved, trees saved.
Oh yeah, it's funny how we get stuck into these different thought processes, and it takes someone else or something to kick in the head, and you just kind of shake yourself and go, "Why haven't I been doing that?"
Yeah, but it was so much easier to do in the new Google Sites, because it really took me like 5-10 minutes to get that in place.
Yeah.
To put those finished documents there so that people could access them, and I didn't want to go further out, so I just kept it within the domain too. So that part was really nice.
Cool. So second thing was, how do we embed multiple calendars? Actually, this feature has been available for a little while. If I go up to insert and I hit my calendar, there's a listing of all the different calendars. I can just check off or highlight the ones I want, insert it, and I'll just resize it so you can see it. But there's the calendar, and then I have to, let's switch to a page I've got published already. But then off to the side, there's all the different calendars, and I can choose just to see one set or whatever I want. I love this thing about calendars, when you can layer them, stuff like that. So that one is actually already available, which is nice. I also, the one question we had is, will sites be available to transfer to personal accounts? I apologize, I cannot remember the name of the person that actually did this. And again, it's one of those, oh my God, why didn't I think about it moments. I'm just going to move some windows around. I'm going to share my screen here, the whole desktop. You can do it using team drives. So if I have a work account and I create a team drive and I invite my personal account to it, I load files up into the work account. The personal one has edit access. They can grab it and drag that file out of there into their personal drive. So now it becomes owned by the personal account. It's not owned by the the shared team drive, and you can do it with any files. So I'm just going to demonstrate that really quickly, just because it is such a beautiful idea. And I apologize to whoever it was that came up with this. And I wrote it down somewhere and I couldn't find it, but I'm going to just quickly show you. Because again, once that comes up, everything that we're doing, those of us that are trainers that have a personal account, then you've got your training domain, you can now move stuff back and forth. So here's a file here called Z Transfer or Z Transfer, depending if you're Canadian. It's owned by me. This is my training account. I'm going to quickly copy this over into my training tutorials folder, which is also owned by my personal account. So now in my team drive, I go into there. There's Z Transfer. When I take a look at the activity and the details, okay, there's no ownership in here because it is owned by my training domain. But because I have edit access in here, I can take this, throw it into my drive, move it to into a new domain. Yep, that's gmail.com. And now when I go look for it, come on.
And while he's looking for it, I just want to touch on this. So he's going from within a Google Suite for Education domain to a personal. You have to set that in feature up an admin panel. So if you're not the person in charge of that, you need to let them know or talk with them to be allowed to do that.
Correct. And there it is there. And as you can see, the owner is now me, the Gmail account.
But this is great. And I advise people, I'm setting up a new process because people retiring or moving out of the district, I'm going to have them do a form. That's part of their checkout procedure now is what do we need to do with your files? And we need to do that before. Now, the nice part about using Team Drive is all the files that they don't want to use anymore, they're not going to use, or they're not taking with them, that they take them over into their, throw that in the Team Drive, name it John Doe, put it in there. And then all those files are owned by the domain, and then you can share that folder with other people who need to pull those files back for them to do. Because if you just share the file, because we delete our account after 90 days. Once that file's deleted, I maybe have 30 days I can pull it back. After that 30 days, it's gone, and I cannot work any Google magic to bring it back. So using Team Drive is a great way when you have people transitioning or retiring and those type of things.
Okay. Sorry, Nick. Allison, go ahead.
Summarize. Are you saying that this solves the problem for portfolios that everyone talks about, kids having Google Sites as portfolios, and how do they transfer everything? If a portfolio is in a Team Drive, are you suggesting that all of that contents can be moved over to a personal account so that their site with all the embedded docs stays intact? It sounds like it.
Good. What I would suggest on that is you make a subdomain for your seniors. Just managing wise that, just what you want open and what you don't want open, but sub or a sub OU within your seniors that you can place stuff in there, give them a week to transfer the stuff out, and then close shop.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So that you have a time, and there is the takeout tool also.
Well, and actually there's an advanced function of takeout, because the takeout you have to download to the as Microsoft documents and then upload. There is another tool that they have. It's not called takeout, but I think it's part of that. But it does actually transfer specifically from an EDU account over to a personal Gmail account. And that takes all the emails and stuff as well. So it's, that one's a more advanced, and it takes everything, where this is just the folders. But for those of us that had spent years developing our training materials in Gmail and then want to take that and move those files into our domain, it's easy enough to do that, or vice versa. Okay, let's look at some of the other things we want to talk about with slides. So pull up the sheet here. So, so here's some of the things that have come out. Actually, this first one's been out for a while. You know, when you do a search by type, so you can search for PDF or whatever else, and if you type in type:PDF or type:document or type:spreadsheet, your Google Drive will only search those types. If you want to look for sites, you just type in type:site, and that's what you're going to get. So let me just see if I can do this real quick just to show you. Calendar Drive. So if I wanted to search just PDFs, you could go down here and search just for PDFs. But the thing that shows up all the time is the word type. If I go into here and type in site, that's how I can find all the sites that I have access to. So I know for some people, they're building all these sites and it's like, I have no idea where it is, no way to find it. That's the one little trick that'll work for you there. Site search is now available on our websites, which is awesome. But just keep in mind that site search is only going to be available when there's more than one page. So I've seen some people going, there's nothing here. I can't search my site. Well, if it's only one page, it won't show up. But again, I'm just going to pull in a page here. Am I still screen sharing with you guys? Yeah.
Yes.
So there I can go up into here, type in my query. And there's the 2 pages that they show up on. Now, keep in mind, when you're doing a site search, it's only searching type and text that you have entered onto the page. It is not searching your embedded stuff, because that is outside of us. That is somewhere completely different. So it's only searching text that's in here. You could use a custom search engine. Google has something called custom search engines, and you can point to different websites to do searches and stuff. And I guess you could do something like that if you had a very large site, or if you had a number of sites you wanted to search on. But for the built-in piece, that's what we get. And so we talked about the iframe. So the iframe is the whole new thing now, where if I go in, I'm going to take my blog here. So I have a blog I want to embed. Oops, I have to go back to my edit page. So 1 second here. So there's my edit side of things. So if I go and double click, there's the URL. Before, you used to get links. Now, if it can, it's going to say, I'm going to try and either do the whole page, and there's a preview. I'm not sure what the preview does, but I have to select my whole page. And there you can see that the blog actually gets inserted. And so when I publish that and refresh here, there's my embedded blog, and it can float whatever size the window is. Now, that's the cool thing. Now, there was a guy named Tim Welch had put up this posting. Tim, if you're out there, brilliant. Thank you very much. It's a great idea. So what Tim did is he said, you know what? If we can embed our sites, why can't we embed our widgets from an old existing Google site? So for example, here's a site that I created up. I went through and made sure to remove as much as I could. So there's no titles. I removed the comments and stuff. I resized the site itself. But here's this section here for my RSS feed. So, and then you also have to, within your managed site, there's a setting in here that says, where is it going? Allow embedding of your site in other sites. So once you do that, now I can embed that Google site. So I'm going to take this RSS feed here. Going to embed the site. I'll resize this a little bit. Now keep in mind, whatever I'm seeing here is based on the fact that I am a owner of this. But when I actually go to view this, refresh it here. There it is here. This only shows up because I'm the owner. If it was somebody else, or if you show this in an incognito, you won't get this stuff here. But now I've got a working RSS feed. I've even went in and put in these Hangout buttons. So if I wanted someone to contact me, I can just quickly add that in there as well. And we'll publish that. Quick refresh here. And so logged in here, if you click on this button, I've set it up so it contacts my dog Jazz. So when I click on it, you can't see it, but it's actually opening up a brand new Hangout window with Jazz already invited. So it's a great way to have these contact stuff right on your website. Thoughts, guys? No thoughts?
I think it can keep us. What's the word? It'll help us get through that rough patch while Google gets to what they need to get done that we've all been waiting for.
Yes. There is a link. I've got a link to Tim Welch's original page. He actually has some detailed instructions on how to set up a Twitter feed in there. He also, he's got a PayPal thing there. If it's worth something, reward the guy. Because I mean, to me, this is an awesome concept that I never even thought about how to pull widgets in. I was thinking more about my blog and other websites. But now we can actually get a workaround until Google gives us something to get the Twitter feed in, to get all these, the Hangout links and stuff like that. To me, that was just an awesome piece.
I'm interested in, I got distracted trying to get my blog into my library site because one of the things is having too many resources. So being able to embed the blog in the site will be nice because they can click on blog and it's not like they'll go everywhere. I don't know if I'm tech savvy enough to speak to this, but my only concern with the widget moving them over is technology with new technology, and if in fact it will present a lot of troubleshooting issues that serve just letting the past go. I don't know if that might be a consideration or not.
So I think what Allison says is use at your own risk, with the understanding that the old sites at some point in time may go away, in which case it breaks your functionality. Hopefully Google will give us a modern day piece that we can substitute it. But yeah, use at your own risk.
And the blog thing works and I love it. Thank you for showing me that.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. That just like blew my mind. Okay. So let me just take a look at our agenda, where we're at. And our time here is at 12:40. So let's see here, the agenda. Do you want to do a quick random share? And then I'm going to ask Nick to do a shout out. So we'll start off with the random share with Allison.
Sure, yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. I've been working with Blockly Games and sharing it for a while. Just starting to have some time to put some, real time in working with kids with it. So I just want to show you what I have going on in the library at the beginning of this school year. So I'll just do a quick screen share. When I started school this year, instead of just referring kids to the Blockly Games, I set up a classroom for it. So first you might ask, what are Blockly Games? Well, it's off of Google EDU's website, or you can go to the link, Blockly Games. You can just Google it, Blockly Games. And what it does is it teaches block-based programming. If you click on more info once you get there, it will tell you that Blockly Games is a series of educational games to teach programming. It starts with something very basic to teach the clicking of the block style formatting, and then it jumps right into loops and conditionals and works its way forward with much more complexity. And it really lends itself to anyone but really older kids. Once younger students get past like maybe the maze, it's going to get into things that will require a little higher level of learning and understanding. So, but I'm finding that for high school, this is great for what I started was these library challenges, which I put out a flyer and I posted it on the website. And then what students do is they go to the website and they click on challenges, and it gives them the classroom code to go in and participate. So they join the Blockly Games classroom, and I only have a few kids right now, but we're working on increasing that through an enrichment class next month. But I've broken down each of these challenges so that as they complete the puzzle, they take a screenshot and hit submit. Maze, same thing, so that they work their way through and they submit their evidence to get credit for completion, because that really is important to them as well, to be able to share that they actually achieved something. I wanted to share that as a resource for those of you that are looking for free and easy ways to get students coding. Blockly Games is a great resource.
That's awesome. And the way you've incorporated Classroom, that's really cool. I need to do more of that kind of stuff. Well done, Allison. Thank you. Nick, you got a shout out for us?
Yes, I have a shout out. I received this magazine in my office, and it's the Center for Digital Education's Converge, Rethink EDU. And this month it is 30 technologists, transformers, and trailblazers. And lo and behold, Desiree Alexander, who is a Google for Education certified trainer, is featured in there. And I was lucky enough to meet Desiree at the Google Geo Teacher Institute in Mountain View this summer. And just wanted to give wish her congratulations. And I've linked a blog post about the winners and a link to her website.
Desiree.
In the show note.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. So that's it for today, guys. So look at that. We're right at the 45-minute mark, which is where we wanted. If you've got any questions after we go offline, again, please put them down in the comments down below there. That the chat functions only during the live time stuff, same as the question things. But yeah, put your comments down there or questions down in there, and we can address that. If you haven't yet, subscribe to this channel. That way you'll get notifications when we start scheduling these, and of course, you know, when we're actually about to go live. Our next one will be, we're trying to aim for the last Thursday of every month at about this time. And we haven't really talked about it in the group yet, but I think I would like to see us try and talk about, did you guys get my email about this for next time? Okay, it's going to be a surprise for everyone. I'm hoping I'd like to do is take a look at 360 cameras. I'm really getting excited about some of the stuff that's going on there. So I think I've got some people, and I'm sure you guys have some people. It'd be nice to bring them in and see what kind of use cases we can have for 360 cameras. There's so many cool things out there. There's a new service out there that actually will take a 360 image and you can add sound spots onto it. So when you click on it, it actually plays an audio recording. So it's just some really neat stuff. It's just getting started. And I mean, cameras are getting cheaper and cheaper. So I thought we should explore that. And if you have any, what's that?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. If you have any suggestions of what you'd like to see, again, just put them down in the comments field, and we'll put that in the list. Thanks again for joining us. If you're watching this on the archive, please pass the information on to whoever you want. Make sure the other trainers can get a chance to subscribe to the channel. And thanks for joining us. Say goodbye, guys.
Okay. Bye, everyone.